Noon. Good afternoon. Welcome, everyone. My name is Julio Barea, Vice President of Sales with Ally Care Time, and I want to welcome you to the Marketing Moments webinar series. I'm joined today by my friend and partner, Debbie Miller. Good afternoon, Debbie. How are you?
I am fantastic. Although in the home care world, it's a little bit of a sad day here in Tennessee. Snow day, which is the enemy to any home care agency, right? So I think I've already lost about $20,000 in canceled shifts. But I'm hanging in there.
Oh my gosh, I didn't realize you guys got that much snow this morning. How much did you
We
guys get?
didn't. We didn't get that much snow. That's what makes me crazy, especially being a Canadian and dealing with snow my whole life. No, I mean we've got about 2 to 3 inches.
Yeah, I live in Atlanta, Georgia, and it's just like that. Just the threat of snow and the whole city shuts down. Traffic
E-
backs up for miles. It's crazy. It's
Exactly.
good to have you on here. We're doing something interesting today, which it feels to me like is a bit of a recap about what we spoke about last year, kind of like a synopsis. For those that haven't been
Mhm.
on here and you missed last year's webinars, I really encourage you. You can find all of them on our website. But she's going to talk today about 10 absolute things you never want to do when promoting your home care business. But before I get started, I believe we also have a guest today, correct? Debbie, do you want to introduce our guest who may jump
Yeah,
into this call?
yeah. So we have Dylan on the call as well today. Dylan Schwartz, who is my partner in 52 Weeks Marketing and also my son-in-law. So we are a family business here, and so he works with so many of our clients across the country, coaching. And gosh, he has coached, I would say, over like hundreds of people this past year. And so he and I've kind of put together the things that we often see that people do, and we're going to give you some suggestions on what to do better. So there he is.
Hi,
There's my boy.
everyone.
Great. Good morning, Dylan. I know you've been working on all of these calls for the past year or so. It's nice of you to finally show your face on us, and we're excited to hear what you have to say. So, if we can go to the next slide before we jump into everything, I want to talk a little bit about what's coming next. So, the very next thing that we're going to do is on April 23rd. And for those of you who are regular viewers, we are moving to a bi-monthly format. That means we'll be doing one every 2 months. Our next one will be on April 23rd at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard. And the topic of that one is standing out in the crowd, crafting your unique value proposition. We're going to talk about what makes your business home care unique and why clients should choose you over your competitors. Something that I can say as having run and running a business today, it's important to know that answer. You want to know who you are, what you offer, and why you. Because if you don't know what those things are, it's hard to convince other people to work with you. So these are something that I think is probably the fundamental part of running a business. Really happy you're doing that one, Debbie.
Yeah, looking forward to that.
So the objectives today, we're going to be talking about helping home care owners avoid costly mistakes. Debbie's going to talk about what's keeping you from being successful, learn the most common mistakes to avoid, and tips to be more effective and grow your business. What I like about this particular webinar is that it's really focusing on all the different things and tying it all together in a bow so you can use this to really oversee everything that you're going to do. So we'll be very interested to see what you want to share on that. I believe at this point we maybe do a poll question. Let me double check.
Not quite yet.
Not quite yet. So Debbie, I think you want to take it from here.
Yes. So I wanted to uh, share with folks that we understand that only 3% of agency owners have sales and marketing experience. And so there that it sort of makes sense as we share a lot of the don'ts that we'll be reviewing today in understanding. And I love this picture because sometimes we cut off our nose to spite our what is it? We cut off our nose to spite our face. We think we're doing the things that we need to be doing, and it ultimately ends up hurting us. Maybe it's to save money, maybe it's the distractions that we deal with every day. So I, as a home care owner, and I wanted to make sure that everybody understands that are on this call, that I do own a home care agency, a rather large agency in Tennessee. And I have been doing this since 2008. So I think I'm into my, gosh, what, 18th year? I cannot believe that much time has gone by. So, but I had a very extensive sales and marketing background. And that has definitely helped me throughout the years to build my business. And so a lot of the things that we're going to be sharing today are things that we've learned as we have coached and counseled and supported other agency owners across the country who don't necessarily have that sales and marketing experience. So I just wanted to throw that out there so that if there are some of these things that you're not doing, that it's okay. This is why we do these educational events, right? So that it starts with awareness. All right, so this is something I need to be doing better, and we're going to give you some tips. And by the way, you've got an incredible support team here on this call who can help you put systems in place, because you're going to hear me talk about systems a lot. All right, we can't be willy-nilly about our business. We've got to systematize things as much as possible to be successful. And so we've got a team here that can help you with a lot of the things that we're going to be talking about today. So I'm going to start by talking about the top 10 mistakes that we see owners do. And I'm just going to put it out here in one little nutshell, one slide. We'll start there. And then we're going to dig into each of these things. Okay. So what we see is that owners operate without a plan. A lot of them do. They also get distracted from the marketing and sales aspect of their business. So often people get into this business for altruistic reasons, not realizing how difficult it's going to be, how many balls they're going to be juggling. And what you don't want to do is drop the marketing and sales ball. But it can happen because we're putting out fires all day long. I have a team of 4 schedulers and my director of operations, and they're putting out fires all day long. But guess what? Marketing's still happening today. And so that's what we need to ensure. We see a lot of people put all their eggs in one basket, relying on SEO as an example. They rely solely on private pay. Owners don't manage their salesperson. Again, they don't have that experience. And so that's one of those things, they just hope for the best. They don't target the right people. Owners don't maintain a CRM. They don't differentiate themselves, as Julio said, how important it is to know what you stand for and how you can articulate that within your community. And they don't hire us, or they hire a salesperson without a commission plan. This makes Dylan crazy. He'll talk a little bit about that when we delve into that. And then sadly, they don't recruit and hire caregivers consistently. And so it becomes a really unfortunate situation where they have to turn away business when it comes in because they don't have a ready caregiver force. So let's dig in a little bit closer. But before we do that, let's start with this survey question. And the question is, of those 10 mistakes that I've just outlined, how many are you making? Is it 1 or 2 of them, under 5, over 5, or most of them? So I think Julio is going to be able to launch that survey.
Perfect. Let's jump right into it. So what do you struggle with the most? Is it always be marketing? Always be
That's actually the wrong,
Is it?
but let's run with it.
Oops. We're going to run this one and then I'll run the other one. Perfect. We got a lot of responses though, so people are very interested in this poll question.
Yes.
So we'll table
Yes.
that one for a little later, but there's a lot of responses happening here.
Yeah. The challenge, you see the big challenge of always be marketing, because there's so many other things that need to be taken care of and run a business.
It looks like
So
that
we're going to
one
look at that.
winning out in the end, didn't it?
Not surprised.
All right, folks, I'm going to end this poll here and I'm going to share the results, and then I'm going to go on here. And so we don't have that poll question set up, Debbie. So we will, if you folks will make a note for us, and if you will do a favor and drop in the chat which one of these mistakes you're making, that would be fantastic. We'll just move on from here, Debbie.
Okay. All right. So let's dig into each and every one of these. And by the way, for these 10 don'ts, we literally could do a 1-hour session for each one of them. And many of these topics we've actually covered. So yeah, I want to just reiterate what Julio said about so many of the sessions that we did last year are available on the caretimeus.com website. So check those out. So let's start with the first one. Owners don't operate or do not. These are like, don't do this. So don't operate without a plan. Okay. And the problem is they don't take the time to do this. And it is a time consuming exercise, but it is so important. And when they don't do it, what happens is they give up and they end up taking what they get, not getting what they want. All right. And we did an incredible session on this late last year. And so here's what we want to change your mindset around is setting clear objectives and goals for your team and for your organization. Where do you want to be? Don't just be willy-nilly about it. Actually draw the line in the sand. All right, then you want to measure your results against your goals each and every month. And if something isn't working, analyze it and make the change that is necessary. I can tell you consistent effort and adaptability will lead to growth. There is something so powerful about sitting down and making that plan, putting pen to paper, and then getting your whole organization behind it. It's extremely powerful. So I want to share some statistics with you. 33% of small businesses have a formal business plan. So that's literally 1 in 3 businesses out there actually have a business plan. And yet businesses with a plan grow 85% faster than those without a plan. 71% of the fastest growing companies have business plans. So if that's where you want to be, this is really, really critical. And then ultimately, 70% of businesses that survive for 5 years follow a strategic business plan. So why is this so important? First of all, it gives you clarity and direction. All right. A well-structured plan provides a clear vision. You can share your vision with your folks to ensure that all your team members understand your goals and they're aligned with their efforts, right? So everyone knows, everybody's like a spoke in the wheel, and everyone understanding how important they are to the implementation of the plan and the success of the business. So that's really key. Focused goal setting. So again, articulating what success looks like, right? Drawing that line in the sand and then measuring yourself against it so that when you have to make changes, your team understands. In fact, you can empower your team to come to you and say, hey, we've got a problem. Here's what we need to do about it. Improved decision making. There have been so many decisions throughout the years that I've had to make, bad ones or tough decisions, because I was measuring myself against our plan and recognizing when there were some issues and maybe had to cut some people or, many different decisions. And also it gives you confidence to increase your headcount because you are meeting those targets. So it gives you a much more confidence in the decision-making process and helps you to stay on track with where you want to be. And then finally, enhanced accountability. Really, really important, where everyone clearly understands their responsibilities and is accountable to those key performance indicators that you've outlined. So again, really, really powerful. Ultimately, your plan becomes your roadmap to success. All right, now we did do, as I said, I think it was December of last year, we did a full webinar on creating a plan. And if you are at this stage where we are mid-February and you still don't have a plan for 2025, it's not too late. Set some time aside, watch that webinar, and put your plan in place. All right. Now, just to show you that I put my my money where my mouth is, to this evening was supposed to be my employee meeting, and my team looks forward to this every single year. I always build it around a theme. This one was Back to the Future, and that's my partner and I in there, and we were going to have our employee meeting where we roll out our 2025 plan. But unfortunately, the snow is going to keep us from doing that. So we've rescheduled that for next week. But I wanted you to see how serious I, in my business, take this and how we need to be thinking about that as we look forward. All right. Second one, don't get distracted from marketing. As I told you, and I understand this, I am in the trenches with you all. We wear multiple hats as owners, but you don't want to get distracted. So, what that means is you need a dedicated person who is focused on growth. If that is not you, you need to have somebody else. If it is you, you need to have somebody behind the scenes, working on the other parts of the business so that you can stay dedicated to this. All right, we see a lot of people don't manage referrals. I noticed on the survey there was a lot of seemed like issues with conversion. All right, so if we're not taking these referrals or leads that we've either put a lot of effort into generating or money to get that phone ringing, it's very important that we're managing those that at intake and following that whole process through. Okay, so what do we need to do? We need to assign a dedicated person, define and delineate roles. All right, you want to keep whoever is focused on growth and marketing out of operations. Okay, so you don't want them also scheduling. It can be very, very challenging for them, and also you don't want somebody going to the field who's also scheduling, knowing that scheduling could be a problem. All right, it's going to affect their sales abilities. Every call must be answered and assessment scheduled. Got to have a lot of focus on a system in order to do that. And if you're a small organization, it's okay. And I understand that you may be wearing multiple hats, but you've got to put time aside for marketing and stick to it. All right, measure yourself against that. When I was an owner and I was hitting the streets, and I'm going to show you what I did. As a matter of fact, here's our next slide. I wanted to show you the impact of having a dedicated person in the field can make to your organization. Okay. Now, in the first 2 years, we actually started the business pretty much in very early 2009. Okay, we got our license in 2008, but really from 2009 to 2010, I myself was out pounding the pavement. But I can tell you one thing, I was not scheduling. I was dedicated. I knew who I was calling on, and I got our sales in that first year to about $2 million. But I realized I needed to expand my my reach, right? So I brought in that first marketer, which is marketer number 2. So I was still in the field. I brought in a marketer, and you can see we added on within 2 years another 2 million. And as you can see, as you're expanding and increasing your reach, and those relationships become partnerships, you continue to grow your business. So I wanted to really show you the impact that having the dedicated person in the field can really make for your organization. All right, the next thing is don't put all your eggs in one basket. Dylan will tell you, and I'll Dylan, if you want to chime in at any point, please do so. But there is a heavy dependence on internet leads and lead providers. All right. And that is an important pipeline. And I'm not discounting that. But we see people spending $3,000-$4,000 a month on SEO programs. And they've got all their eggs in this basket. And I'm going to share with you why that's not such a good idea. So what we want to do is help you build strong community presence. It's very important to have your brand name out there, to be developing relationships with those community referral sources. All right, you want to form, even as an owner, form relationships with those professionals to increase those referrals. Why? Because they convert much more effectively. Go ahead, Dylan.
Yeah, and what I would say to that is it's about the residual business that we're really trying to achieve here, right? We work with so many new marketers, and the first few months are always trying with the trials and tribulations and the challenges and obstacles we face. But as you start to develop these partnerships in the community, it only grows from there as you obviously maintain and nurture those. And that's when the business really starts to grow aggressively. And that's why we set expectations. We want to see 1 to 1.5 million in revenue in that first year as we develop those partnerships.
Exactly. Yeah, relying on the leads is great when you first open the doors, but it's this funnel that you constantly have to feed, and feeding with money, versus this. I love this picture because it gives you the idea that you want to have all these different pipelines all flowing with a steady stream of referrals, right? So you've got with your SEO, you're going direct to consumer. As you build your business, you're going to focus on the clients who are happy, have them generating some referrals for you. Your lead providers, your government and payer sources. And then finally, the thing that we really want to focus on here are those community referrals. And when you turn that tap on, it's this constant stream versus always having to, you're constantly, when you go to direct to consumer, it's a one-off versus somebody, a social worker at a rehab center who's discharging patients 10 a week. That is an incredible pipeline that we want to turn on. So I wanted to share with you and really help you understand why this is so important. And it comes down to conversion rates. All right. So I took a snapshot in 2023. This was 1 month in June. I really should update this, but it tells the story. So in June, and what you see in the green bars are referrals generated from our referral sources in the community. Okay. And what you see in the blue bar are the referrals or leads that were generated from digital leads. By the way, I spend zero money on SEO. I haven't paid $1 for a Google AdWord or any kind of SEO program for, I don't even know, at least 12 years, probably. Okay. I do work with agingcare.com, a place for mom, and those kinds of things. So but we've got a lot of organic growth that's happened because of being in business for so long. So here's what I wanted to show you. In June, we had 67 community generated referrals. This is actually a really small month for us. But look at how we converted. So of the 67, 71% converted to an assessment. And of those assessments, 87 converted to clients. But look at the digital leads. Okay, 49 referrals that came in. Only 13 of them, or 26%, converted to assessments. And of those assessments, we do a really effective job. We have a 69% conversion on those to clients. All right. So when you look at the referral to client ratio, those generated by community referrals, it's 62%, but only whatever it is, I can't see the exact number. I think it's 16% from lead to client. So if I just take this snapshot and take a look at, if I was only relying on digital leads for my business, I would have only signed 9 clients instead of 51 new clients. So pretty impactful when you think of why and how powerful these warm leads from your community referral sources, how valuable are they? Carry a heavier weight. And so I just wanted to share that with you. All right, so let's take a look at our number 4, which is don't rely solely on private pay. All right, we have an incredible inflation that's hitting this country in all aspects of our life, right? Eggs are, like I heard, up to $99. It's the same situation with home care. When I started my business, we were charging $16 an hour, y'all. $16 an hour. We're now up to $34 an hour. In some areas of my territory, $35 an hour. So what does that mean? Rising costs mean that fewer seniors can afford our care. And what we're seeing across the industry are hours are shrinking. So you need to generate more clients to experience that same revenue that we were doing like 10 years ago. So what we need to do is diversify our payer sources as much as possible. If you don't have access to some of those payer options, long-term care insurance is available to everyone. We'll talk more about that. Market yourself as a senior care expert. If you tick a lot of those payer source boxes, that you are credentialed with many different payer sources, that gives you a huge differentiator out there in the marketplace. You can become that one-stop shop for your referrers. All right, so really important. So I want you to understand this really key statistic. And the good news is 70% of clients, or 70% of seniors, will need assistance at some point in their life. And we have this growing aging population, right? More and more people are going to need care. However, only 20% of seniors can actually afford long-term care. That includes home care. So the more diversified you can be, the more payer options you've got in your toolbox, the more clients you can actually serve. Okay. So VA, Medicaid, Medicare Advantage, more plans, get credentialed with as many plans as you can. And get creative. There are equity loans out there. Most of seniors' wealth is tied up in their home. Not sure if you're aware of that. So you can help them utilize their home to keep them at home. All right. But so find a partner in your community, partner with them, do talks out there to help seniors find a way to pay for your care. But I can tell you, even if you cannot get credentialed with VA, if maybe Medicaid, the margin is too low and you just can't deal with that, or you aren't credentialed for Medicaid and you just can't do it, everyone can do long-term care insurance. There are 8 million policyholders in this country. 4 million policyholders can actually activate their policy right now. They would qualify to use those benefits to pay for care, but they don't know it. So there's a huge opportunity there. And I wanted to show you my results and by focusing on long-term care insurance over the past year. So when I really hooked on to long-term care insurance and saw the benefit that this could bring to my business, I started focusing on it in 2016. And within 1 year, I was up to $1 million. And as you can see, we just continue to grow by focusing strategically on this and messaging it out there in the community. I'm positioning myself as the long-term care expert. And as you can see, in 2024, we're at about $3.2 million in just long-term care business. So that's becoming a bigger piece of my private pay pie. Okay. That does not include any other payer source, including including private pay. This is just long-term care insurance. All right. Number 5, don't avoid sales management. And this is where Dylan often is becoming sort of like the sales manager for a lot of our clients and trying to help them become stronger managers. What we see happen is people hire somebody to go out and get them referrals and they hope for the best. They don't give them any direction. They don't hire them into any kind of system. And they definitely don't hold their marketers accountable. So what we want you to help you understand is how important it is to set clear expectations, those key performance indicators, provide a structured business to business system that you're hiring them into, setting those expectations and then hold them accountable to that. Very important to meet with them regularly to see how they're doing against those KPIs and then face it if it's not working out. All right, we've got folks that will, we've literally seen, and Dylan, jump in here. We've literally seen owners who have had a marketer for a year and that person hasn't generated a referral.
We've seen longer. We've seen 6 years, and they're generating 200,000 even. The reality is there's a lot of horror stories out there when you speak to owners about hiring a marketer and why they've gone the SEO route. More times than not, it's because they did not hire them into a system and hold them accountable while also supporting them, of course. So absolutely.
I don't know if you want to add anything there, Julio. I know you've been a business manager, sales manager, sales teams. How important are these setting objectives and holding them to it?
I think like anything else, and thank you for the question. I think like anything else, you can't measure success if you don't have a way of measuring success. And so it's really important that you have a measure to measure success by. I know that was a really roundabout way to say it, but if you don't set a benchmark to what your basic standard is, and then you set that expectation with the people that work for you, it's really impossible to manage them, hold them accountable, reward them when they do well, right? If you look at it from a positive standpoint, and give them a structure to live by. So it's vital that you decide what those measures are. And that applies to your business, it applies to my business, and applies to any business you do. And Dylan's right. I would say that many, many small business owners that come into this space, they don't come from professional sales management or professional sales organizations such as I do. And I would expect that. These are people who are coming in to perform outcomes and do a business that they're passionate about. So what you're teaching here and what you're advocating for here and what I know Dylan is passionate about is vital. You have to find a way to manage these folks, give them expectations to work with, provide them a structure to work inside of it, and then that allows you to measure their results and reward them when they do well. We've also learned, bottom line, that if people don't have something to aspire to, they don't work their best. They kind of have to have some sort of level of accountability.
Yeah, and just to elaborate a bit more, and sorry, let's answer Kenneth's question quickly here. If you can go back quickly, Deb.
Sure.
Kenneth was asking, what do you mean by a system? A system like a structure. When you hire a marketer or a sales rep into your home care business, they need to know where they're going, who they're talking to, what they're saying, how they're asking for the business. That's what 52 Weeks does in a nutshell. So it's very important you have a structure for them.
That's a really good segue. It was like that was a setup from Kenneth. My goodness, because I wanted to quickly outline what we exactly mean by a system. So this is a business to business model, right? That we're talking about here, where, and I come from pharmaceutical background, which is very, very similar. We're calling on people who engage with seniors at their point of need. Well, I call it like that point of crisis. They need a solution. And so in order for us to be effective, your marketer needs to be reaching. So this is the method, the 52 Weeks methodology: reach, frequency, consistency, accountability. So targeting and reaching the right people and reaching enough of them. Frequency, seeing them often enough, that really moves the needle. Okay. And in our case, we recommend weekly frequency. Consistency, by solving problems for your referral sources, it builds trust. Okay. And that's where you are able to move relationships to partnerships. And that's in my business, that's where I'm at, because I've been at it for so long. And then accountability, holding your market accountable to all those things. So we set reach targets, frequency targets, and conversion targets. Okay. So in a nutshell, the do's and don'ts of managing a marketer: you want to communicate your goals, set clear expectations, meet regularly, and counsel them, all right, based on their results. You need to own your database of referrers. If you can, as an owner, get out and meet with your referrals also. All right. So if you've got somebody that's dedicated, that's fantastic, but still find a way to get out there and get in front of folks so that they know the owner behind the scenes, and then get systematized, like what we just talked about. Don't assume your marketer knows who to target and how best to use their time. Oh boy, we see people just spinning their wheels out there. We'll talk about that. Don't take what you get what you want. Don't wait too long if it's not working out. Let them go, move on, find somebody else. Don't lose touch with your roots. We talked about, don't assign your marketer to staffing or scheduling. Okay, really important. And don't give up. If you're not getting your referrals, fine tune your system or look at another person. The next one is, don't target the wrong people. Boy, have we seen people waste time and money spending all their time going to network events. Who goes to networking events? Other marketers, not necessarily the people who are engaging with those seniors and families at the point of crisis. So what happens is, if we see the marketer out there being busy going to networking, we're going to have these unrealistic expectations that they're going to be bringing in referrals, and that doesn't do that. There is a strategic reason to be going to networking events, but that is not what you want your marketing spending their time doing on a daily basis. We want them following that system, targeting, reach, frequency, etc. So what we want to do, the solution is to identify high potential, referral potential influence centers, and then build connections with the decision makers within those centers. And be strategic, right? That you whatever you're doing in the messaging and the conversations, you want them to be moving that needle toward building that relationship with that person. So what do I mean? Reaching the right places, seeing enough of those places, so it's the wide enough breadth, and then the right people within those places. We recommend that you're targeting at least 30 to 40 influence centers that you're calling on a weekly basis. And within those centers, we're looking at 75 to 80 referral sources, people that engage with folks that are looking for solutions. All right, now when we think about those influence centers, you could take a quick shot of this. Again, these are some things that we help folks get systematized around. You want to we look at it in three buckets. There's the healthcare professional bucket, the financial bucket, and then associations and other types of organizations, churches, area agency on aging, Alzheimer's association, those kinds of things. But in the healthcare bucket, that is your low hanging fruit. And we can help you kind of get organized around that. All right, number 7, don't neglect the importance of a CRM. Why is it a mistake? You never want your marketer alone to have that list of who they're calling on and have the relationships solely. Because if they leave you, you literally are left with nothing. And how many times have we seen that, Dylan? If you want to chime in here. It's very, very unfortunate. Where we really saw this happen was during COVID. All right, during COVID, the folks that worked with us, we quickly turned our system into digital system where they could email things on a regular basis. For owners that didn't have any contacts, lost their marketer or furloughed the marketer, they had no way of contacting these referral sources for 2 years of COVID.
What I'll also add to that is the number of people we're reaching out to, right? Part of the methodology that you speak about so often, Debbie, is, the reach component of that methodology, which is not just the influence centers as we refer to them as, but also the individuals that we're trying to build relationships with, which can be upwards of 8 individuals within each facility. You can't keep that all in between the ears here in your head, right? So in order to hold yourself accountable and not let things fall between the cracks, it's very fundamental to have a CRM in place. I'm guilty of this being a sales guy in my early years, notes on all sorts of papers all over my desk. And then I find a notepad or I find a piece of paper with a note on it for a deal that I missed out on because I didn't follow up with them and I wasn't organized. So I think the organizational aspect of the CRM is important, but also to hold yourself accountable to all the relationships you're trying to build.
Right. And at the end of the day, you want to be able to measure your effectiveness, right, of yourself, if it's you or your marketer, and the tactics that they're employing in the community. So keep a centralized database of referral sources. Keep track of your marketer's activity. In our CRM system, in the 52-week system, we gamified it. So we know exactly if I look in my business, I've got 3 marketers in the field. I can literally look on my phone right now and know how many calls they've made today, how many calls they've made this week, and the effectiveness of those calls, how many were face-to-face. What this allows you to do is analyze your results and make strategic decisions. So for example, my referrals go down, I take a look at what the call types were. Well, one of my marketers might have made a ton of drop-offs, not as many face-to-face. So what is my counsel when I meet with them on Monday? Hey, I want you to really spend your time today scheduling meetings, scheduling face-to-face meetings, setting yourself up for success this week, because where the rubber hits the road is when you've got those face-to-face meetings, right? Where you can really engage in a meaningful conversation. So
hold on, before you go on, but really quickly, let me add something. And I it's funny because you left a personal story out that we'll keep short here, which is everything that we talk about, we use ourselves with our own home care agency. 52 weeks marketing is a solution to have a business reason to be out there. The CRM was for our own marketers originally. And we had a territory where we were getting 40 referrals a month with one marketer consistently. And that dropped to 20 within a 2-month window with a new marketer. And we knew something was up. This is the beginning origins of our CRM a couple of years back. Well, we quickly identified the frequency had gone to a monthly frequency visiting these influence centers instead of it being weekly or biweekly. So when we made an adjustment, we watched the referrals go right back up to 40. This information would not have been available if we didn't have them using the CRM the way that they were.
Right. And we've got some really incredible analysis. We might want to do a talk on this at some point, Julio, but because we've been gathering all this data with more and more users across the country, we can benchmark now. And what we learned, and I think, Dylan, we just saw these results, that we've fine-tuned it to the point now where we know exactly how many week to week, and you can actually double the number of referrals if you do week to week versus biweekly visits. It's incredible. So we know how many week to week visits it takes to get a referral generated. So it's really cool when you're able to have that data. So number 8, don't market without a strong differentiation. Common problem, people don't know how to stand out in a busy competitive market. And man, is it getting busier out there. I have had so many new organizations come into my geography, and it's just crazy. So understand how you differentiate yourself and how you compare to your competitors. You want to clearly define and communicate your differentiation, and then also bring value to your referral sources through unique offerings and or superior service. So we're going to spend a lot more time next week, actually, or next time we get together, on really differentiating yourself. But don't forget about these simple things that you can do to determine how you are measuring up to your competition. I love a mystery shop. I do it every single year. Got a binder about this thick of the competitive mystery shop that I just did. And you can learn so much about how your competition is differentiating themselves. Talk to your referral sources. Hey, who do you like that's doing a good job? What are they doing? What's effective? What are they communicating to you? I learned recently during a mystery shop that one of my competitors is talking about their online caregiver training program. And that was really resonating with some folks out. So what we started to do, and meanwhile, we're doing face to face when our caregivers come in, we have a skills lab, and all of our caregivers go through that. So if I didn't know how, I mean, we weren't really even communicating that. So now we started doing blog blasts with pictures of caregivers in our skills lab and really differentiating ourselves. Hey, we don't have an online training. We've got an in-class, hands-on skills training. So again, things like doing a SWOT analysis, understanding your strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, so that you can really understand what is, what's happening in the community with your competition, but also what's happening in the industry and what you need to prepare for. So really, really important in helping you do that. So again, we're going to be focusing a lot more on crafting a unique value proposition in our next class. So don't forget to register for that. All right, we're winding down here. Number 9, don't hire a marketer or salesperson without a commission structure. All right, a lot of folks do not offer any performance incentives. Oh, Dylan's smiling on this one. And here's the result. They lose their marketer, because at the end of the day, if somebody is good, they're going to find an incentive plan somewhere. All right. Now, let me tell you something. My marketer, you remember on my chart where I showed you where I brought in my first marketer? Amy Walter is her name. She's still with me, and she's just coming into her 15th year with me. I mean, isn't that incredible? And I'll tell you why. She cannot make more money than she's making with me. All right. So I've locked her in. So reward success with a commission plan. Motivate them to grow your business. The way I articulate it is, it's my company, but it's your business. All right. And if you motivate them to think about this way, like their business, everyone's going to win. So
Debbie, what do you call it? You call it the golden handcuffs, don't you?
Golden handcuffs.
It's funny. Salespeople work for money. They like what they do. They believe in the product they're selling. But the bottom line is, the personality of a person who's good at sales is they work for money, and they like to be rewarded for that. And when they make a little bit, then they want to get more of that, and they work harder. It's amazing how salespeople work. There's no such thing as too much work for a salesperson, as long as they're getting paid for it.
100%.
And so that's something that you really want to keep in mind when you're working with marketers, because in the end, we call them marketers, but they're salespeople, and their job is to get out there and get referrals for your business. What I like that you do differently, Debbie, and you told me about this yesterday, but maybe share it with on the call, is you not only do base plus commission, but you have another retention incentive, don't you?
Right. So the commission is based on residual. So they get basically it's based on the revenue that they generate for as long as we have that client. So that's what's allowed me to retain my marketers. And what's nice about that is, and my structure has been to hire social workers. Social workers don't think of themselves as salespeople, but they do think of themselves as educators. And so when you position them as educating the community, those referral sources, and and influencing them to refer to your business, that's a huge educational process. They're out there providing an incredible service to folks who need our care. All right. So, but like you said, Julio, once they got a taste of the commission, they just want more. Like it's like a feeding frenzy. Even when you look at a model like social workers, which I'll show you, the base salary for a social worker across the country is $55,000. So these are folks that you can hire at a lower base, and if you build in the commission, it works really effectively. So you're not having to hire, say, somebody with a pharmaceutical background who you're probably not even going to be able to talk to for anything less than $80,000 base. Well, that's a big hit for somebody, especially if they're a newer company. But a social worker that you're able to bring along. So I call the compensation entice, motivate, retain. Give them a base salary, especially if they're going to be leaving another organization. Find out what they're making and match it, and you'll find it's going to be fairly affordable. And then motivate them with that commission. And as long as you keep the client, why that's so nice is because if anything's going wrong with the client, they're motivated to get in there and resolve it. All right. Yes, still.
Just a couple other things really quickly without getting into the weeds. We see all sorts of structures out there. We actually won't work with agencies that don't have an incentive anymore because it's a lose-lose. That, as Debbie says, the marketer will leave eventually. The solution is not paying them a higher salary either, because as Julio said, they need to be incentivized to keep pushing so they get new business. We have lots of clients over the years that pay $80,000, $90,000 as a base salary, and they say, well, we take care of our marketers. They're not going to take care of you. That's the problem there. So you just want to be cautious and you really want to do some due diligence. Feel free to reach out to us and ask us what we would recommend. We have a number of different recommendations. The only other thing I'll say before I let you continue on here, Deb, is the shared incentive program within an organization, which we also see. Operations shares with sales based on overall company results. This is more of an eat what you kill type of role. As Julio said, we're looking for someone that has that sales personality that wants to earn commissions. Well, when you start sharing those commissions with everyone else, people start looking at each other's workloads and it creates more conflict than anything.
There you go. All right. Final one. Don't take your foot off the caregiver hiring pedal. Wow. I've seen this. I've seen companies fail because, literally go out of business because of this. What happens is owners stop hiring when there's a lull in the demand. Or they don't have a well-oiled recruiting machine. Again, they don't have an established system so that no matter what is happening in the organization, recruiting and onboarding is happening. Okay, that you've got to have a system. All right. Now, when I say owners stop hiring when there's a lull, and I literally just had this happen in my own organization, even though I've been preaching this forever, never take your foot off the gas. We for some crazy reason we were having I don't know 4 back-to-back by the way we do orientation 4 days out of 5 days a week. And we were having 11 and 12 caregivers in each of these classes. It was literally last week. And so my HR person came and said, I maybe we need to not have another orientation. And I said, absolutely not. I'm not kidding you. The next day we had 4 24/7s come in the door. If we had not kept our foot on the gas, we would not have been able to staff those cases. So you've got to create a system so that you are always hiring, no matter what is going on the business side of things, because you are literally 24/7 away from a crisis. That's 6 caregivers you need right out of the gate. All right. So never slow down. So what's a good approach is having some engagement technology to support your process. I have a system that I utilize that takes a lot of manpower out of it, whereas a lot of things are automated, and we have an incredible partner that we hook up our clients with. And also, if you don't have the manpower, consider offshoring your recruiters. All right. So virtual assistants. I have 7 virtual assistants within my organization. 2 are constantly recruiting. We do interviews every 15 minutes, 5 days a week. because it's a numbers game and you got to play the numbers. All right. So, you know, you've got to have so many applicants. Half of those are going to turn into an interview. Half of those are going to turn into an orientation. Half of them are going to turn into clients. So it's got to be a well-oiled machine. We have seen such a need across the country when it comes to recruiters that we've actually started a virtual assistant company. And we have a partner in the Philippines who's doing an incredible job sourcing amazing talent. I've got 7 of these folks myself in my company doing scheduling, doing recruiting. Let us know if you need any assistance there. And then finally, but so you just got to be thinking about this in a creative way, right? Knowing that you've got to have systems for all parts of these of your organization. And then, hey, by the way, if you've got an overabundance of caregivers, get out there and market them, right? If you know that if there's a particular geographic area where you've got some a great base of caregivers that aren't working right now, and by the way, you need to be constantly looking at your utilization. One of the things you can be doing with if you've got an abundance is are there any delinquent caregivers that you need to replace them? Don't put up with nonsense. All right. The second thing is get your marketer out there promoting the fact that you've got 2 overnight caregivers ready to go. Hit your facilities. Hey, do you have any staffing issues? Lots of different ways that you can promote that. That, you know, if you're in that, you know, very opportune situation of having more caregivers than you can really utilize right now. All right. So never take your foot off the hiring pedal. Our goal is to have a ratio of 1 client to 2 caregivers. That's sometimes hard, but at least you want a 1 to 1.5. And that's where we're at right now in my organization. So summary, the keys to growing your business, be constantly marketing, be constantly recruiting. You've got to convert those leads to clients and you need to retain them. And in order to do that, you need systems in place. So I know it's easier said than done, but as I said, there's lots of support here. We can help you with any of those things. So we did this questionnaire. Let's move on to our next questionnaire, Julio, which is survey question 3. And
Absolutely.
and go ahead.
No, please, absolutely. I think we want to go ahead and launch that poll question. This one, I think I have it right this time. So hopefully
Yeah. So if you're interested in more information about how 52 Weeks might be able to help you with with marketing, or if you're needing help with recruiting, go ahead and answer those questions on the survey. And we will reach out to you and see what we can do to support you. And that's the wonderful thing about doing these seminars is letting you all know that there is help, and there's help from people who've been doing this a while. And so, you know, it's our pleasure to be able to assist you, and we'll see what we can do. All right. I think we're good there. And we'll move on to our next survey. There we go.
Perfect. And if you folks are interested in learning how Care Time can handle and help you manage those multiple payer sources and help you maximize agencies' revenue, let us know. We have been working together with Debbie and Dylan and 52 Weeks Marketing for a long time. While we are not marketing experts, we do try to provide you with a platform that will help you track the marketing that you are doing, help manage your referrals and your referral sources, and give you a single place in your scheduling platform that allows you to manage these things. We provide you with KPIs and reports to track your marketing team. We'd love to get to know you, but above all things, what you hear today is vitally important. It really, really, really is. As someone who runs a business every day, everything that Debbie has shared today, it's very important that you try to find ways to implement these things in your business, because if you do this, you will stand out from everyone else in the crowd, which leads us to the very next one that we're doing.
Good segue.
Thank you. That was completely unintentional. I can't take credit for it. So standing out in the crowd, crafting out your unique value proposition, Wednesday, April 23rd, 12 p.m. We'd love to see you there. As always, Debbie, thank you so much for doing these with us. Dylan, thank you for joining the call. And if you want to learn more about us, you can reach us at caretime.us or 52weeksmarketingllc.com. Reach out to Dylan directly. He's a great guy. Folks, thank you so much. And Debbie, thank you for your time today.
Thanks,
Thanks, Julio.
everyone.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, everybody. Have a great
Bye,
afternoon.
guys.